All right, you're looking live at the handsome faces of Tom Shattuck, Dave Callahan, and me, Gerry Callahan. We are on, what are we on now? Facebook Live and YouTube?
Facebook Live. YouTube is added in this morning. That's a new little trick.
I don't like this. You're taking the focus off the podcast, the highly acclaimed podcast.
It was a lot. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work.
It's not a podcast anymore, Gerry. This is a murder scene. Jimmy Hoffa walking into the room in the last day of his life. My friend Alex Reamer didn't see it coming before the snub-nosed 38 was in the back of his head.
I have to say, I love Alex. That's why he's on here, and he's always got a place here, even though many listeners don't like him. It's always been that way. That's what I like about him. He doesn't mind going against the mob. He doesn't mind the Twitter hate. He can fight through it. I've never seen him, I don't think, storm off. And we had him on the radio many times. We had many fights, and we had lots of callers go at him. I don't know exactly why Turtle Boy gets under his skin as much as he does. But God, yesterday, Turtle Boy didn't even say that much. He just, asked a couple questions about the transgender runners. And Alex, if you missed it, he got up. He wanted to storm off. He kind of did. He walked around the room. He's doing the show from his childhood bedroom at his parents' house. And he walked around his childhood bedroom, and he was very upset. And I don't think he wants to spend any more time with Turtle Boy. I think that's the one thing going forward. He's not going to do any shows. That's too bad, too, because I was thinking of having a few, round tables with the whole crew and put Alex there and have Turtle Boy there. But I don't think Alex wants any part of Turtle Boy.
Well, Alex writes for Out Sports Magazine, so you're right in the verboten zone when you're arguing against the fundamentals of the transgender philosophy or whatever it is. It's like having an ISIS convention and drawing pictures of Muhammad. It's offensive to even
and he knows it. He's right. He's written a lot about it, talked a lot about it, but so is Turtle Boy. This is a topic. The transgender runners in Connecticut, the girls, the biological girls who've had their heads kicked in by these couple of transgender people for a couple of years now, are suing. The judge is already, we know the judge is biased. He doesn't want them to win this. He's not going to help them. He's already said they can't call the biological males. And one of the reasons he said they can't do it, science. It goes against whatever. He had a bunch of reasons, but says it's not fundamental decency and a few other reasons they have to call them girls, and one of the reasons is science. So someone clearly the judge is in the tank. He's a left-wing loon who's going to do everything he can to help the transgender girls and everything he can to hurt the biological girls. But Alex has written about this, and so is Turtle Boy. It's a subject. If you want to talk to two people who spent a lot of time thinking and writing and talking about this, those are the two, Reamer and Turtle Boy. And they're two, diametrically opposed viewpoints, which kind of started the whole ball rolling.
Maybe it just happened too quick for Alex, right? It just kind of happened on the fly.
Yeah, but your fault.
Here's ambushed him. Yeah, no. Well, Turtle Boy texted me, and I brought him on. So, is this like an unwritten rule that I missed in my years of radio that you don't storm off? I think that was definitely a Gerry Callahan rule. That's a rule, right? Shattuck, you have that rule?
We had a program director, a general manager, Phil Zachary, said that was a rule. He'd been in radio for decades and said that is the one rule you cannot storm off. Gary Tangway did it twice, and we had to beg for his life.
If someone's making jokes, you're a pedophile. You can't walk out
back the first time, and then he stormed off again. I don't think Reamer ever.
That's what hit Reamer.
He may have threatened, but this was a first. And again, he didn't storm off. He just kind of did a lap around his bedroom and came back.
No, that's what hit him. That's why I'm asking that, because if you watch that video back, he gets up. He looks like he's gonna throw the earbuds that he has, and it's like it hits him. I guess that's Phil Zachary in his head or something like that, and he comes back.
Well, he's also been pretty thick-skinned. I mean, he's taken more shit than anybody in my time. I'd say in radio, nobody has more, forces working against him. Almost all the callers, almost all the texters, tweeters, people we worked with couldn't stand him. They didn't want him there. I did, Kirk did, Minahan did. And so that's why he was there. And he would put up a fight. I would always say, Sometimes he had, more balls than brains. He didn't always make the best arguments, but he never backed down. He never walked off. He just hates Turtle Boy. And I'm not exactly sure why they disagree on this issue, but I disagree with him on this issue. Alex is going to defend the transgender runners, no matter what. I think there are times where these guys, these people, whatever, transgender runners are bullies. They, like I gave the example of the kid in college in New Hampshire who was a good male runner. He was a good male runner. He came back the next season and he was a great female runner and just dominated, set records. That's a bully. That's a bully. And the girls who are suing have one fundamental point. They know before the race starts, they got no chance. They look at the person next to them. They could see the muscles, the size. They know they physically can't compete. They have no chance. And so Turtle Boy's question is, why do we separate the race, the genders at all in track or in any sport? Why do you have, clearly you could play whatever, co-ed volleyball, but why do you separate the genders in basketball, in track, in wrestling? Because it's fundamentally unfair to have someone who was born male, who's strong and fast, go against a girl. She can be the most devoted runner, trainer, hardest worker. She still has no shot, none. And they know it. And Alex referred to one race that one girl beat one transgender person once.
Right, which he shouldn't have done. He shouldn't have offered anything into evidence because his main argument was, what if it was your son? What if it was your child? So his main argument was emotional, saying that the emotions and
that's always a lame argument.
Right, means that we have to be in lockstep and make an exception and really just lie to ourselves en masse about this thing because there's pain somewhere, and that cause is more noble than anything biological. But you cannot will your biology to change just because you have something emotional going in your head. And you're right; it's like having a 68 Camaro racing a Mazda Miata. The men have much more lung capacity. Their organs are bigger. They have bigger muscles. We all know all this stuff. This is not anything we have to relearn. So to pretend that this is a science is BS. And so it makes us all have to be compliant, even though we know that it's a fallacy.
And I've asked this question before with Alex. We've talked about it many times. And, he relates to these individuals because he comes from a marginalized group, and that makes sense. That's why you have the LBGT. The T's don't necessarily have anything to do with the L's or the G's, except they feel marginalized. They feel like they've been discriminated against. The thing, Tom, that drives me nuts in this argument is the feminists or the alleged feminists or just the women who, will purport to be defenders of women. Is there anything more blatantly unfair and rigged against women than this? Again, these girls are really good track performers, runners. They're girls. They're the best girls, born girls, the best biological girls. Their whole life they're running, they're winning, they're competing, they're getting medals, they're thinking I could do this in college, I'm good at this. They devote their free time to running, training, and then they show up on race day, and this guy, former guy who was a good runner among guys, is now a girl, changed his name, didn't change much else, is in the next block, ready to run. Is there anything more blatantly unfair to girls? So where are the people who, as I said, I'm old enough to remember when we cared about girls, when girls mattered. Girls don't, in this whole argument, whether it's, track or whether it's, wrestling, basketball, whatever, you're going to see it in the Olympics. It is coming in the Olympics. I believe you don't have to have, the surgery. So you're going to see some people in the Olympics, in track, in whatever sport, who just say, field hockey, like there's we see that occasionally in high school field hockey, who just say, I've changed my gender, I've started hormone treatments, I'm ready to go. And they're going to be allowed to compete and win gold and win money. It's going to be a huge deal. And how do you think, many of the third world countries that are competing in the Olympics, remember, some of the countries that aren't quite as enlightened as we are, how are they going to take to that?
Right. There was a poll in 2018, I think, that showed that women were becoming more resentful of the trans movement for that reason exactly. Because suddenly you're a guy, a physical guy, and you have all the dominance of a man. Remember the threatening physicality of a man, and you can then steal the station of a woman to use for your own good. So you've pushed them out of their own space, the only space they had. And spaces are very important. I'm told that you need to be seen in my space. But no. You get bullied out. We're all supposed to watch it. I hope it happens. I hope it happens in the next year. I hope.
Yes, we're going to have this argument's not going away. And here's the problem with it. I've lived through it. Alex's side in this argument is very passionate, very determined. I mean, there are people, most people just say, yeah, it doesn't seem fair, and they'll move on with their lives. Alex's side will dig in and fight to the death. The reason, I'm no longer on the radio is I said it was crazy for a family to transition their 5-year-old boy to a girl, and a family outside of Boston. Of course, the Globe was helping them, tell their story, and it was wonderful. A 5-year-old. And I thought that was crazy, and that set off a transgender activist who came after me and the station, and it lasted years and cost thousands of lives, and eventually I ended up sitting here with you because the station I'm on, which by the way is hit rock bottom. If you saw the ratings yesterday, it is dead. It is dead as fried chicken, and they kowtowed to a transgender activist. They made a deal with him. I'm gone. Kirk Minahan's gone, and everybody's happy. They're thrilled. But anyway, that is a powerful group. That is a powerful mob that will come after you if you cross them. So they will force their will on whoever it is, the U.S. Olympic Committee, whoever it is, the IOC. It's going to get ugly, and it's going to be an issue. They got a break, they got a reprieve because the Olympics was canceled, and maybe it will be again next year. Who knows?
Right. Yeah, but also the thing is not that they act as if there's some kind of hostility towards the trans folks, and that's not what you were saying or me. It's a healthy thing to have concerns that you're giving kids puberty blockers or other drugs to try to change their
okay, I'll say that's insane. I think normal people can agree that's insane, but you watch, there'll be people who say that's transphobic. To say blocking puberty for a 12-year-old is nuts. You're right. Here's what it is, Tom. People like you and me say, sure, be happy, do what you want to do, but there's a victim here. These girls, these track girls who dedicated their lives to this sport are the victims. There are victims. It's not victimless. And you get to be whoever you want to be. You get to change your name, your dress, your life. You don't get everything. You don't get to go in a sport designed for women and dominate and win all the awards and win all the prizes. And when it comes to the Olympics, win all the money. You don't get everything. We're a very compassionate society, the most ever, the most advanced society ever for people, marginalized people. But they don't get everything. I mean, there's a point where you say, sorry, you don't get to beat these poor girls. You just don't.
Right. And I just think, like in the 3rd district up in Lowell, where I am, where Lori Trahan is congressman. You remember Alexandra Chandler, who was a trans candidate who ran? Didn't do badly, actually. And she was a guy, transitioned into a woman, and she was beautiful. And we had her, we interviewed her, we called her she, very intelligent, great kid. And there's no inner feeling and there's natural need for hostility to these people, and she was very nice, and I call her she right now, but she is still a biological man. So this feeling that we've got to be tested, that you have to go out to the 1,000th degree in compliance with these folks, or else you're a hater, it's BS. But it's happening. There are several prongs to the attack. This whole drag queen story hour thing where they go into libraries and parents bring their 5-year-olds to see these men or women or whatever they are dressed as hookers, essentially, and feel good about themselves that I brought my 5-year-old there. It's sick, and it's a
child abuse. That is child abuse.
If you don't do it, Gerry, you're a hater, and we're gonna call Window World or whatever, and make sure that they cancel their ads in your station. I mean, this is a harassment that I'm glad that you guys stuck up, fought back as much as you could. But this kind of harassment is not going to end. They only get empowered.
Well, I mean, you could just, if that's your daughter, that argument is lame. But what if that's your daughter who devoted her years to track and thinking she can win a state title and thinking maybe this will get her a scholarship or get her something to go to, college, get her an offer to go to college and run in college. And she shows up and the person next to her just as, muscles on muscles and just and if you see the video, if you see the photographs, you can come to no other conclusion. It just isn't fair. And liberals used to care. That used to be their thing. What's fair? This isn't fair. Everything had to be fair. Well, this isn't fair. And they know it. And that's why I'm not sure they're completely, they completely believe. They're completely invested in the argument because they know it isn't fair. They just feel like they have to side with the marginalized people. But it's going to be a story, a huge story, whenever the Olympics.
It is.
Next
so
Olympics.
Far it's been fairly benign, with the exception of some high school girls who probably missed out on scholarships and great experiences. And that's tragic. And I do have a daughter. And if she was competing against some dude named Eric who decided that he was a woman and needed to race with the girls, I would think that was bullshit. And I don't know what I tell her. What do you say? What do you say the lesson is to your daughter then? Sorry, honey, in life we all get screwed, and this was your chance. And try to find something else where the trans boys don't chase you into that field and decide to compete against you. It's BS. But remember when the Caitlyn Jenner thing happened, and it was Bruce Jenner became Caitlyn Jenner, and that was a test too, and they said you better applaud that. It's not okay to say it's just okay. You better applaud it, and if you didn't applaud it, then that was a barometer, and you were a hater.
And right, believe me, I went through it because she won the Arthur Ashe Courage Award from ESPN, and I did a thing about the runner-up, this vet Noah Galloway. I think he lost 3 limbs, and he was on the cover of Men's Health, but he's a badass. He's just the most impressive guy. And I said, here's the runner-up. And it was a joke, obviously. They don't have a runner-up, but it just caused this furor. And I got all these same activists coming after me because I said this guy was the runner-up to Caitlyn Jenner. Not only was he one of the runner-ups, so was Pete Frates. I mean, he was a runner-up. He was nominated by many, many people, officially or otherwise, and said, here's a great choice for your Courage Award. And they gave it to a man who became a woman who, by the way, in the last year had killed somebody on the highways of California. Killed somebody. There was nothing impressive. There is nothing impressive about Caitlyn Jenner. She's a selfish, guy, egomaniac. There's no reason. And by the way, doesn't do a lot for the transgender community in terms of charitable appearances and all that. Caitlyn Jenner's not a good person. There's no way you give him a Courage Award. Give her a Courage Award. It was insane. And I still keep in touch with Noah Galloway, by the way, who's on Twitter, and he's reached out to me a few times. Incredibly impressive person. Should have been the award winner, but ESPN is as woke as it gets. They wanted to make sure everybody bought in on Caitlyn Jenner.
Right, and that's why a lot of people who didn't find Trump especially likable voted for him anyway, because they said, if we're going to lose our country, this guy is a force for just at least freaking common sense. He may be an idiot, but at least he's common sense. And so they continue to make these referendums now. So right. This next choice with Trump again, you're going to have a lot of people saying, Jesus, this guy is tweeting like a moron, and it's been a crazy ride with my blood pressure even higher than usual. But the alternative is that culture. A culture here where we have to suspend disbelief and we have to suspend common sense and we have to be cruel purposely to girls because there's this legend about marginalized people being constantly under fire and constantly in pain.
It's the best place, the best time in human history to live. Best place, best time if you were a marginalized person. I was watching in the news, I've seen it a few times, the head of the Philadelphia or is it Pennsylvania Health Department is transgender, and she gets up before the mics. I believe it's an elected position. And you mentioned the attractive transgender politician, and this one is not so attractive. But I believe she's accepted, not accepted, elected, and get everything she could ever imagine in this. When you consider the way it used to be for someone like her, it is changed completely. You get most things. You don't get everything. You don't get to beat up. You don't get to bully young girls. But and we'll revisit this. I promise you, we will revisit it. It ain't going away. It's going to be the story when the Olympics ever happens. I believe the Olympics is scheduled for 2037 now. Is that it? Because
too soon.
If it saves one life.
That's right.
I tweeted this, and I believe this. I've been predicting it for a long time. There's going to be, I don't want to say riots, but there's going to be theatrics. There's going to be civil unrest, and it's going to be in LA. Los Angeles is going to be ground zero. Yesterday, health officials and others, their pathetic mayor out there, Garcetti, decided they need 3 more months. I don't know if it's like official mandated, but it's going to be. They're going to continue their shutdown until the end of July in Los Angeles, which was already a little antsy. We saw when they tried to shut down the beaches. People are sick of being in their homes. The weather's nice. Obviously, it's LA. They think they want to be safe, to be careful, but they're not going to be on board with this. It's going to get ugly. And I said, this will replace sports. I mean, we might not have baseball, basketball, hockey this summer, but we will have civil unrest, and we'll be able to sit back here, 3,000 miles away and watch it in LA, because I think, and again, the polls don't support me. It's just my instinct. I think more and more people are coming around and saying, this is freaking crazy. More and more people are reading up, looking at the data, looking at the numbers, and understanding this is a targeted virus, and it requires a targeted solution. Shutting down society is madness.
Yes, and the buzzwords now have been discarded. The flattening the curve has been discarded.
Yeah, we did that. We did that. We're moving on to testing. Just say, okay, let's all say it together. Testing. I could be a Washington, a White House bureau chief. Testing. What about testing? That's all they say.
I know LA made the headlines yesterday, and probably 2 reasons, right? Like, was that the Board of Health member there saying it, and then the mayor backing it up, and then the Cal State system saying schools are going to, they're not going to reopen until after the fall semester.
Right.
But New York is basically in the same boat technically, right, too? Because they're going they're going to start implementing phases, but you can't go on to the next phase for 2 weeks, and that's going to put them at the end of July, beginning of August.
These people are crazy. It is foolish. And many people tweeted this. I'm starting to believe it. They want to find a way to keep this going until they can stop Trump. That's all that matters. It's a tough task because their candidate is hiding in the basement and drooling on himself, and he's pathetic. But what's the goal? In 3 weeks, 3 months, there's still going to be a virus. There's still going to be some risk. It's still going to be targeted. It's still going to be a problem for elderly and not for children. Canceling school, whether it's elementary school or college, is the dumbest move, particularly 4 or 5 months in advance. I mean, by then we will, I hope, have most of our elderly quarantined, protected.
Right.
Most of our vulnerable will be protected. We will take every step, every measure. By then, everyone will be social distancing. Everyone will be, doing what they have to do, sneezing in their elbows. So we'll be better at this by then. There will be no reason, absolutely no reason not to go back to school. And it's relevant for a number of reasons. You're right, Dave. I mentioned this, Colin Cowherd was saying his sources said USC versus Alabama, which is a pretty big football game, right? A pretty big nationally televised college football game. He said he's hearing that it's off because USC will not be in school. It's not a public school. It's a private school, but so what? And it can't violate the shutdown if the shutdown. Right. So we're talking about canceling a game between USC and Alabama because some idiot public health official and some moron mayor decided we got to be safe. Let's be safe. I mean, this is not even talking about small crowd or no crowd. This is just saying no school. So if you have no school, you can't have football. And now, according to Colin Cowherd, Alabama is looking for a new opponent. They're moving on from USC, looking for another opponent. I assume it has to be a red state. You can't go into blue states and play football games. You got to stay in red states.
Right. But all these European countries that we were told we needed to emulate, that were doing it much better than us, they're now opening. So every bit of the script has been thrown out. And by the way, these same geniuses who had all the buzzwords from the beginning, they're the ones who let this disease, this dark fog, go into nursing homes and kill everybody.
Right.
What about the oversight for that? The CDC and the World Health Organization, all of the people who know so much. Dr. Fauci, he's such an oracle in this thing. How did you let that happen? They went in there and it ravaged. So 82-year-olds are the epicenter for this thing. And so you're looking over here now at USC and UCLA and all these other colleges where they have sports games in the sunlight and saying, no, they have to feel the pain.
And saying it 4 months in advance.
Parents. And it's their screw up. Their job
is. I will never stop talking about this. I will never, ever support or respect Andrew Cuomo. He killed grandma. Everyone's accusing the people who are advocating the reopening of the economy of killing grandma. He literally, I think you could say literally, killed grandma. He literally sent coronavirus patients into nursing homes.
Yeah.
I believe the total's over 5,200 people have died in nursing homes in New York. In nursing homes alone.
He outlawed not killing grandma.
Right. And he left the Comfort, the Navy ship, empty. He left the Javits Center nearly empty and sent these people like bombs, like ticking bombs into the nursing homes and killed the people. This fool is on TV every day. I know MSNBC and CNN, I believe, show his daily press conference. They don't show the president or the wonderful Kayleigh McEnany. We'll get to her. But they show this absolute fool, this incompetent fool, Andrew Cuomo, every day. The guy who said, no, I'm going to mandate you send these infected people into nursing homes and kill people. That guy is supposed to be, the
right.
next big thing. He was going to take Biden's spot a couple of weeks ago. Good luck with that. Can you imagine if Donald Trump, or forget Trump, if Ron DeSantis, Greg Abbott sent infected people into nursing homes and killed 5,000 people? Could you imagine? There would be mobs dragging them out of their governor's mansion and ripping them limb from limb in town square in the middle of the street. This guy is still the apple of the eye of all the media. They still swoon over him. He's not afraid to go on network or cable TV and do interviews. He goes on with his little brother and they joke about how handsome he is. That's a guy who's responsible for the death of thousands. And he giggles with his little brother about how he's the most eligible bachelor in New York. This is insane.
They just cleaned the subways last week.
Right.
So not only did they clean the subways last week, the world's biggest subway transportation system that accommodates no social distancing, that is obviously a petri dish for this thing. Not only did they just scrub the subways last week, but the PR staff for the state and the city was proud of it. They brought in CBS and said, hey, bring the camera in, watch what we're doing here. We're scrubbing the subway. We're really good. We've been in this thing for 3 freaking months. Nobody washed the subway?
Yeah, he's completely mismanaged it. He's been the face of just disaster in this whole thing. And obviously DeSantis and others, Abbott, have done things right. It is incredible that people, but I guess that's what you expect, from the media these days. That's what you expect. You don't expect honesty and truth. I mean, we're seeing it. We can get into it. I did it with Reamer yesterday. If I were a liberal, and it's hard for me to imagine being a liberal, but if I were a liberal, I would be so angry right now, Tom. I'd be so angry at you name it, at Adam Schiff, at Nancy Pelosi, at Gerald Nadler, at CNN, at MSNBC, at Don Lemon, at Chuck Todd. They literally lied to you for 3 years. Lied to you. It was all made up. They lied to you. The elected officials, Schiff, looked in the camera every day for 3 years and said, I have evidence of Russian collusion. I have evidence. It's overwhelming. It's in plain sight. You will see it. It's coming. He never had it. He knew it. He just lied over and over again. He didn't lie on under oath. He lied looking in the cameras. So you are a viewer, in many cases, you're a true believer. You're a fellow traveler. You agree with him on issues. You support him. Nancy Pelosi, same thing. Chuck Schumer, Gerald Nadler, whoever, Elizabeth Warren. You believe in them, and they looked you in the eye and lied over and over and over again. It was all made up, and they knew it. And people today are going, yeah, whatever, big deal.
Right.
If, Schiff will go on CNN or MSNBC. They won't have any, there'll be no backlash. There'll be no, why did you lie to us? There'll be support. They'll continue to support him. I find that an amazing phenomenon that you got burned by this guy. Hell, Rachel Maddow, I think her career, she placed her career on the line in support of these people. She was the leading conspiracy nut. She was a big star in left-wing cable. She bought into it completely. She called Trump a Russian asset over and over again for years. We now found
they're
out
either willing or they were collaborators of one kind or another. Either they knew they were lying, or they were stupid enough and lazy enough to never bother looking. Those are the people in media. But not only did Schiff know it was a lie, he had evidence disproving it. They had already spoken to every major principal in the Obama administration to a person. They said, we've got no knowledge.
They all knew, right? I mean, Schiff knew, right? Obama knew, Biden knew, they all knew, Sally Yates, Susan Rice, they all knew it wasn't true. They all knew there was no Russian collusion. They all knew he wasn't a puppet of Putin. They all knew, Brennan, Clapper, they all knew, but they hated Trump so much that first they tried to rig the election, then they tried to bring him down. They succeeded at some levels by getting some of his underlings like General Flynn. But today, I understand, Schiff is diabolical. I mean, he's an evil man. That is an evil man. It's amazing anyone votes for him. But who am I talking? I live in a place where people vote for Elizabeth Warren and voted for Ted Kennedy. So it's hard for me to throw stones. But when you think of what they did, these aren't good people. They're not, they're not on the level. So why is there no price to pay? Why, like someone asked, won't the House censure him because he's been lying repeatedly to the world for 3 years? Not only will they not censure him, they will applaud him and support him. But why doesn't, whoever he's been lying, they've been lying to you why doesn't Rachel Maddow say, you son of a bitch, I believed you and you lied and you made me look like a fool? Why doesn't that happen?
Yeah. It's like, it's bad for the game. Like Pete Rose's gambling was bad for the game. It's bad for the integrity of the system altogether. You should want to not have somebody like that around because it could be you next time. Right now the precedent is set so far that it's okay to tamper with the next incoming administration. Is that okay? Because so far people have only been rewarded for it.
And think of the story. Think of how big this story is going to be. If, as we all expect, Obama and Biden, or at least Obama, is tied to this attempt to stop the Trump campaign and then bring down the Trump candidacy or bring down the Trump presidency. It's the biggest political scandal in history. It is, if that's true, and we're going to find out hopefully. And what will the mainstream media do? They will circle the wagons around their guy. They will fight it every step of the way. There's a chance that unfolding before them will be the biggest political scandal ever. And political reporters will literally work with the guy being accused, work with the guy who's involved, and help him through this, like shepherd him through this troubled time. That's, again, that's a Trump factor. These people have lost their minds. Their blind hatred for Trump doesn't allow them to see the truth, and they don't care to see the truth. Again, they've been lied to for 3 years by a small cabal of left-wing operatives, and they don't care. They're on the same team. We're all on the same team here. I don't know about you, but once or twice, I've been lied to by whoever, athletes or coaches or whoever, and I'll never forget it. And it pisses me off to this day. You lied to me. I like Bobby Copperton, the hockey player, did it to me one day. Lied to me about whether he was going to play or not, and I couldn't believe it. And I never respected him after that. I said, "How can I go talk to him and trust him?" I mean, he lied in the face.
Right. In the half of the country, you're right, they were lied to, and they also looked terrible. Like, what poor sportsmanship it is to say, no, she didn't lose. It was Russia because he colluded with Russia, because Cambridge Analytics and it's Russia. He didn't win in his own. The world's not like this. It can't be that these fat Walmart people voted for him and didn't do the right thing and didn't vote in their own best interests like we all know they should have. It had to have been Russia. It's so goddamn lazy and petty. It's ridiculous. And this was an Obama Comey project. The idea was to inject a parasite into the incoming administration to get Trump on an obstruction charge, because they knew, they rolled the dice. They said, Trump is shady. Manafort's shady. We know that he hung out with shady people. We know that he's been to Russia. There's got to be something. There's got to be a reason that Trump has been working this. There's got to be a reason he did so well. There's got to be a reason why Flynn wanted to the Russians to back off on retaliating for American sanctions. It's got to be. And somewhere they had a discussion, and Biden was in the room. They all had a discussion in early January 2017 and said, do we roll the dice on this and plant somebody next to Trump and try to take him down, or do we let it go and let democracy, blow its own way with this guy at the top? And Obama said, no, we're going to.
I mean, I don't want to, pick on Reamer again, but he's basically said that yesterday. So what? They hate Trump. So what? So you spied on his campaign. You spied. You lied on warrants.
And yes,
warrants. You spied on citizens.
Yes,
it's unethical as it gets.
Right, and that's
like Alex say. So what? I hate Trump.
Right, and to them it's worth it. But you're right. The entire premise of for spying on Trump was built on falsities and lies and illegal maneuvers. The Carter Page thing. The FISA court asked, "Is Carter?" The FISA court said, "Okay, you want to spy on Carter Page? That's okay, because you've given us proof that he's been talking to Russians for years." FISA court asked the FBI, was he working with the CIA? Is that why he's been dealing with Russians? And the FBI said, no working with the CIA.
They knew he was.
Exactly. Same thing with Papadopoulos. The CIA ran a couple of operatives at him to see if he was working with the Russians. The operatives came back and said, there's nothing to Papadopoulos. And they hid that in the report. That was Rosenstein hid that. So they already knew that there was nothing to any of this.
And I say this all the time. One of the great services Trump has performed for us is exposing, the media for what they are, Democrat operatives. And it's worse than ever now. You literally have this huge scandal unfolding, and they don't care. Their job is to comfort the comfortable. And I'm talking New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, their job when they get up in the morning. Hell, the New York Times executive editor said he devoted his entire news operation to the Russia scandal. That's how big it was.
Right.
But now we know there was no Russian scandal. Now we know it was all made up. And the gray lady, the New York Times is going to devote their news operation to protecting the people who orchestrated the scheme, including, of course, their hero, their God and Savior, Barack Obama. That will be, and there's still people out there. It amazes me. People I know and who will read the New York Times and think it's a newspaper and think it's news. They'll think that's, look at what's in the headlines today. It's just a political newsletter.
It's a trash paper. Maybe the sports section's good. I don't even know, but they refuse to learn. People like Reamer refuse to learn. They don't want to. I mean, the idea that he has the talking points and he's never vetted them any further, just for the hell of it. Wouldn't you vet the idea that Flynn pled guilty to lying to FBI agents? No, he agreed to a plea deal as they were sucking his bank account dry and ruining him in court runs for weeks and weeks and months. And this is something the FBI has done forever. Mueller did this stuff, a guy who couldn't explain his own investigation, remember, in front of Congress, who had very little recollection of what he was looking for, who didn't have the facts on his side. They bled Flynn to death, and they threatened his son. They had him on the
son, and I would,
going to jail. And Flynn said, I have no choice now. My life is ruined. My reputation is ruined. I have no job prospects. And so the FBI just kept him in a cage. They keep him around. They keep asking him questions so that they can see if they can find daylight between what Flynn says and what Trump says, or Trump's people says. And they didn't. For 2 years, they tried this stuff, and there was nothing to it. Nothing at all to it. And for Obama to say, it's unprecedented that Barr would, drop the the charges against Flynn. No, it's unprecedented that a president would torpedo an incoming administration like this. Obama also said that Flynn perjured himself. He did not perjure himself. He lied to the FBI. Supposedly, he lied to the FBI.
And you see, I mean, we have video of Clapper and Brennan lying under oath. We've seen it. I mean, it's amazing. We know Hillary Clinton's lied under oath, and there's no price to pay. And this guy loses everything, loses $5 million.
Yes, and you talk about job. You talk about the press, Jerry. I was a few days ago. I watched. There's an old 2009 press conference where Obama hands it off to Clinton. He was selling his own budget essentially. So Obama's in the press room. He says, "Good day, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing?" And he's sitting up there with Clinton, and the press immediately is quiet. And Obama jokes a little bit, and they giggle. And it's so funny just how obedient the press was. And then Obama admonishes them. Now I'm going to hand it over to Bill Clinton for a moment. And when I do, I want to make sure you ask the right questions. And they're, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The best is, remember the reporter who asked Obama, in your time in the White House, what has enchanted you the most?
Yes, that was a New York Times reporter who now is with CNN.
I think you could find this one, Dave, because contrast this with any question Trump gets. Yesterday or 2 days ago, from the Asian American reporter who said, "Why are you asking me that? Why are you asking about China?" And he's like, "Well, I'm asking everybody about China. Ask China. These people have defended China.
Right.
These people, the mainstream media is more likely to defend China than they are their own country." And whatever it was, 5 years ago, they were saying, "Mr. President, what in your time on the job has enchanted you the most?" Can you imagine someone asking Trump that, even if it's, OAN or whoever, the New York Post? They would never ask that. They were so enamored of. I mean, it was like they were like high school kids with their first girlfriend. They were in love with Barack Obama, and right now, they're finding out that their high school girlfriend was a ringing serial killer, because they're finding out just how corrupt Obama was. And again, New York Times reporters, when they wake up today, they have one job. It's exonerate, defend, circle the wagons around Barack Obama. It's going to get nasty, and it's going to be fun. I'm telling you, we don't need sports. We got civil unrest in LA, and we got the wars in the media, in the press room in Washington. It's going to get ugly. I think today Trump's going to do a press conference, and he's going to tell everybody when they ask a question, say, "Why don't you ask China? Why don't you ask China? The white people, the black people, the girls, the men, the old, the young, everyone, ask China," because that's what he's done. Only today's, Washington Bureau press corps could turn that into a racist comment. Ask China.
Right, of course. And just the temperature of the room, the reporters are pissed off.
Right, they just hate him so much.
They're angry at him, and it's palpable. Or they're angry at McEnany.
Oh, she's been great so far. I didn't know much about her. I could see why they hired her. She defines the term, sassy,
She must have the most organized notebook in front of her with the color, you know what I mean? The different colors of the sticky
like Charlie Baker's charts, all different colors.
Because she is on it every question that gets asked.
And you know what? She doesn't mind. She's obviously referring to notes and referring to charts, like you say. And she's like, "Fine, I have something for you." And she'll look down and literally read from it. And I like that. She's not pretending. She knows it's war. She knows they're there to make her look bad, to make Trump look bad. she knows they all hate her. She knows they're on one team and she's on the other. And
how she telegraphs these questions and starts flipping through even before the question's over. She starts flipping through to the right chapter to destroy the questioner, with hypocrisy. It's like she's got the Alex Cora's sign stealing system or something.
How about when they asked her about, she had some comments, some negative things to say about Trump before she went to work for him. I think before he got elected during the election season. And she said, "You know what? I made a mistake. I was watching CNN and I believed all the things they said about it." And I think she said it to a CNN reporter. It was brilliant. I look forward to, you're going to have to watch Fox News because CNN and MSNBC will never show her press conferences. But if you get
is she getting, I haven't seen anything. Is she getting good reviews from, is Trump complimenting her on Twitter?
Me, yes. Getting good reviews from me and from people like me.
Yeah. Well, even
I'm not sure. Trump hasn't said much about her, but there was someone on with Dana Perino, and they said she's the best press secretary since you, Dana. And I hate to break it to Dana, she's better than Dana because she's more combative. And I liked, Sean Spicer for theatrics. It was fun. And Sarah Sanders was good too. She was feisty and she wanted to fight. But let's be honest, Kayleigh McEnany is a little easier on the eyes.
But she was asked the question yesterday. Like, she mixes stats with then taking shots in the same sentence pretty well, because somebody asked her about, numbers that Dr. Birx was reporting, and she was like, "Well, I just talked to Dr. Birx, and yes, I heard what Elizabeth Warren said today."
This was great.
You know what I mean? So she
called out Elizabeth Warren's lies, which we always appreciate around here because it's hard to track all Lizzie's lies.
Right.
But she went through the numbers that Liz was making up, and she made it seem like Liz was just lying, which she was. Which is refreshing. You like to see that from a
McEnany is different than the other two because she's surgical, and I believe that she's going through every reporter's Twitter feed and doing a profile of these people and saying, okay, when this a-hole comes off at me, I'm going to nuke this guy. And what she does, and she's got it on the merits. If somebody asked her, like when they asked her, why did you criticize Trump 5 years ago? My feeling is that she should have just said, okay, this is over. Every time you say something, you waste my time with dumbass showboat stuff, then it's over. So you can thank your friend next time you do it. Actually, it was the thing, the Jordan thing. Remember when the press, when he walks off, when Michael Jordan walks off, and somebody says, thanks, Cliff, for asking the dumb question. I think that was
right.
But yeah, they are absolutely disgusting on this. And what she had to do? She's a flack. She's worked for other campaigns. Of course she has other opinions. She said other stuff. That's what flacks do for a living. Kaylee, do you promise you won't lie to us?
Can you imagine asking any Democrat that, any Democrat spokesman or anything? Can you promise you won't lie? Imagine someone saying that to Liz Warren or Barack Obama. Do you promise you won't lie?
Gerry, what would your editor have done, your sports editor, in 1987 if you said, by the way, I was out there in the clubhouse and Jim Rice was, one, mean to me, and two, he lied? I mean, you would be walking out of human resources with a box of your crap fired profoundly in seconds.
I want to get to that. I want to get to double standards. And by the way, apologies. Today we got a lot of apologies. I want to get to a couple of apologies, including one that I think was totally unnecessary from one of my favorite 80s rockers. But first, let me do Shea. After I do Shea, we're going to go through our apologies from the mainstream media, and we'll rate them. We'll rate the apologies. But anyway, first, let's talk about Shea Concrete. This is for you homeowners, you home builders, you guys who are planning your spring projects. Maybe you're ready to pull the trigger on a spring project. I got one for you. Precast concrete steps. My brother-in-law, Greg, and Shea Concrete has a huge selection of precast concrete steps. Whether you're building a new home or you need to replace old stairs on an old home, Shea has great values with designs for any home. This is the project you're thinking about because it makes all the sense in the world. You're going to have that little ceremony outside, that graduation, maybe those prom pictures. You might as well do them on new front steps. They're available in concrete, or you can customize your front steps with beautiful stone, granite, or brick. A new staircase can dramatically upgrade the front entrance of your home. In most cases, they can remove your old stairs, which are pretty freaking heavy, and have you walking up your new front steps within hours. Just like that, you get a whole new look to the front of the house, and your pictures will be better, and your house will be worth more. It's a great idea, a great spring project. Learn more about Shea's precast concrete steps at SheaConcrete.com. That's SheaConcrete.com. And if you go there, ask them for a hat. If you're going to go buy some front steps, say throw in the hat. Great hats. But here's my list of apologies I want to rate, okay? And tell me whether they actually meant them. Jimmy Kimmel apologizing to Mike Pence for lying about his little box thing. Kimmel apologized, totally full of it. Doesn't mean it. Kimmel's a hateful little punk. Chuck Todd apologizing for splicing the tape and making it appear that Bill Barr said something he absolutely did not say or did not mean. Chuck Todd apologized. Totally full of it. I mean, he's did exactly what he wanted to do. He made Bill Barr look bad. He's apologizing because he got caught. We'll get to those, but I want to get to the one apology which I don't think was necessary. Bryan Adams. Everyone knows Bryan Adams, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know Bryan Adams?
Underrated. Almost.
Sure.
Cuts like a
Absolutely.
knife. Summer of '69.
Run to You is probably his best song, but
They're all good sing-alongs, good
Yeah.
voice. He's just a good performer, and he's been around forever. He's 60. He had to apologize because something he said, which I had to go back and go through, with a fine-tooth comb. Here, I had to look. I believe I have his Instagram post. His words. I'm not taking anything out of context, not splicing anything like Chuck Todd did. But here is what did he say? Here's what Bryan Adams said. He had a concert planned, a series of concerts in London at Royal Albert Hall. So it was going to be a big deal. I don't know how many concerts, but he was going to do a little run of shows there. He's going to make some money, and he was looking forward to it. And that was all canceled, of course. And it was canceled, he said, quote, thanks to some effing bat-eating, wet market, animal-selling, virus-making, greedy bastards. The whole world is now on hold, not to mention the thousands that have suffered or died from this virus. My message to them, other than thanks an effing lot, is go vegan. That's it. Now, he had to come out and apologize because that was racist, I guess. Can someone help me out with this? Serious question for you, Tom Shattuck and Dave Callahan. What the hell is racist about that? Isn't that we believe the virus came from what?
No.
The virus came from China. The virus came from Wuhan. It either was a lab near the wet markets or there was the wet markets. I've read and heard both theories, but it came from China. And
Wrong, Gerry. American Governor Andrew Cuomo knows it's the European.
Right, that fool.
That's
that
right.
moron Cuomo is calling it the European virus, which is comical.
If it's a European virus, then it's the Cuomo virus. I believe it went from Europe to New York to every other state, essentially. California had its own direct route, but other than that, Cuomo's got his name on more of the spread than anybody else.
Well, which which wet market, which lab did it come from, Cuomo, you idiot? It came from China. He doesn't say anything racist about Chinese or even about their ethnicity or anything. He just says he's a big-time vegan. He's a big-time PETA guy. And he says some effing, and he writes F, he doesn't write the word out, effing bat-eating, wet market, animal-selling, virus-making, greedy bastards. What's wrong with that?
Who pressured him into apologizing? Like, who gives a shit
question.
about what you
obviously
post on
Twitter,
Instagram?
but
But
update. This was an update.
Go ahead. Chinese citizens and Chinese doctors were whistleblowing about this being a problem in China, originating in China. Right, before they got welded into their houses or made to disappear.
I heard this interview with an American in China. A guy from America was on this podcast, was on the Daily Caller podcast. He lives in China. He's an American, very articulate. He works in construction. And he said, he talked all about it. And, he said they literally welded the doors shut and the windows, and people couldn't get out, people with the virus, and they starved to death. That's the country who's getting praised by whoever, the CNN or the New York Times, for the way they've handled it. There were whistleblowers, doctors and others, who disappeared and haven't been seen. They're probably murdered. And the New York Times and others have said China's handled it pretty well. Politico, CNN. They're talking about they murdered their own citizens to control the virus, lied to the world, spread the virus. And somehow they're not responsible. Somehow Bryan Adams is supposed to apologize.
Bryan Adams is,
to be honest with you, it's probably the best thing that's happened to Bryan Adams. Nobody's been talking about Bryan Adams. So
he apologized. It's a great story. Ryan Adams, the other, the singer. Obviously, he's younger. Yeah. Ryan Adams. I liked him till I found out he was abusing his wife, and then I kind of bailed on him. But there's a story of him being at a concert and doing a concert, and someone kept yelling, Summer of '69, play Summer of '69. And Ryan Adams is kind of a hothead. He flipped out and he demanded, I think he took money out of his own pocket, gave it to the guy and said, I want him out. They kicked the guy out. Oh. And then he found out later that the guy just was an honest mistake, and he invited him back and he apologized and he played Summer of '69 for the guy.
There you go.
Oh, very nice.
Anyway, Bryan Adams apologized yesterday on Instagram. He said, quote, apologies to any and all that took offense to my posting. No excuse. I just wanted to have a rant about the horrible animal cruelty in these wet markets being possible source of the virus and promote veganism. I have love for all people, and my thoughts are with everyone dealing with this pandemic around the world. What in the hell is he apologizing for? He's talking about these wet markets. They're cruel. You've seen video. They literally have dogs and cats in cages. People pick them out and they butcher them and give them dog meat or cat meat. They eat pangolins.
He's apologizing for how he made people feel. That's a Cullinane move. That's a Cullinane staple, actually. Wear the mask just so you can appease everybody else.
Right.
All these apologies are disingenuous. Chuck Todd doesn't feel bad. Chuck Todd got caught. God knows that asshole Kimmel doesn't feel bad. He just got caught. But I understand, like, they have bosses like Chuck Todd. I guess his bosses are busy, molesting interns and chasing the help around the desk. But they take time and say, go ahead, you got to put an apology out there. And he did. And I guess you give him credit for apologizing. But
I was a painless apology. He wasn't bleeding with us in the apology. I didn't like it. He said, by the way, the cut was pre-edited by CBS News, which we used, but we didn't bother to go and find out the rest of the quote. Well, that's the whole damn ball game. If you're using a video clip,
you want to take a listen to it? You want to take a listen to him?
Sure. It's in defense of Chuck Todd, though, Tom. He's not very bright. It's not. He's not smart.
That's not the book on him, Jerry. He was apparently a little prodigy in the '90s, coming up, and was a big brain guy.
Do you think if he agreed politically with me? Do you think if he aligned with me? Do you think he'd be where he is today if he weren't a hardcore Trump-hating liberal? Do you think he'd be where he is?
No, I do not think so.
Well, before we go to break, I wanted to talk for a moment about something that occurred on Sunday's edition
of the
House. During the program, we aired a soundbite from a CBS News interview with the Attorney General, Bill Barr. In the bite that we aired and commented on, Mr. Barr was asked how he thinks the history of his decision to end the prosecution of the former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn will be written. Mr. Barr answered, quote, history is written by the winner, so it largely depends on who's writing the history. In the full version of the interview and transcript, he went on to say, but I think a fair history would say that it was a good decision because it upheld the rule of law. Now, we did not edit that out. That was not our edit. We didn't include it because we only saw the shorter of two clips.
Way to take on it.
I know. What an asshole.
But it's funny, he said in the full
transcript.
In the full version, as if Barr gave two interviews. Barr gave one interview.
Yeah, and you thought and by the way, the criticism he gave was that Barr didn't refer to the law. The next 5 seconds, after he cut it off, Barr refers to the law. So it makes, not only does it make Todd look like a weasel and a liar, but it makes him look like a fool. I mean, he criticized Barr for not referring to the law when it's exactly what Barr did. Of course, that's what Barr did. He's the Attorney General. What do you think he's going to say? We didn't bother with the law. Who cares about the law? We just,
They so wanted to believe that all that Barr said was that the victors write history. They so wanted to believe that because obviously Barr is a pernicious and evil man and works for an evil man, that nobody in that crew, and there's got to be 25 people there who would have gone through that audio, who would be involved in that process. Nobody bothered to vet it. Nobody bothered to vet it because they
don't care.
They had the answer they needed.
That's the source of most media bias, and it's worse now than ever. Is that they do they have a premise and then they kind of build a story around it. They want Barr to be wrong. They want Trump to be evil. They want Pence to be lifting empty boxes. So they go with it. They don't care. Damn, the evidence be damned. Forget the facts.
They go with it and they build off of it.
Give a narrative.
He else does too. Remember, I don't know if it was NBC or ABC, also doctored the Trayvon Martin audio, the 911 audio, to make it look like it was more of a just straight up snuff out that the murder, the killing of Trayvon Martin was, because that's what they needed. And then the rest of the media just built off of that. They're happy to do that.
I don't know who's. I'm not voting on who's the best co-host. That's Cullinane's job, like of the 4 co-hosts.
Yep.
I mean, who do you give an advantage to after yesterday, Turtle Boy or Alex?
Oh, Reamer, hands down. Reamer is. If Reamer would be on every day, I'd take it every day.
That was
just because he's unhinged.
Well, as long as Turtle Boy would be on the show with him every day. I mean,
that's calling in. But,
yeah.
Nobody
unlocked for Turtle Boy to come in and do the hit. Dave, what did you get for that? What did you get to sell your soul? Whack out my friend out.
That was camaraderie of guests. That's what that was. Hey, Turtle Boy, come on in. That was building a team. That was team building exercises.
I think we're gonna have to do it again. Maybe when Turtle Boy's on, we'll let Alex ambush Turtle Boy. How would that go?
Ooh. I don't think I want
to. Something about Turtle Boy just tells me that would go exactly the same way it went yesterday, probably.
Well, nobody is more well informed than Shattuck. I'll give him credit. He's a news guy. He's in a newspaper. He's a writer, so he knows. I need you to help me with something. I don't think anyone else can. I'm sure Callahan can't. But I've been following like everyone else, the Ahmed Arbery story. I'm not even sure if I'm saying his name properly, but I've been reading like everyone else about the if you're unfamiliar, it's the black guy that was shot, the unarmed black guy who was shot with a shotgun by a father and son team in a pickup truck. It's like something out of a Grisham book, Time to Kill. It's a really ugly scene, an ugly crime. It took 74 days for this father and son to get arrested, even though the video was out there, even though Arbery was unarmed. Initially, they said he was a jogger. He wasn't a jogger. He was looking at a house under construction, just kicking around. There's video of him looking at the house, which people do. If you have a house being built in your neighborhood, Shattuck, and you're walking the dog, you might walk up and take a look at the house, see what's being built. I do that too. Everyone does it. When you see a house in your neighborhood, you go take a look at it. Anyway, that's what he did on video. He wasn't jogging. Who cares? It appears to be, an execution. They just killed the guy because he was suspicious in their minds. They grabbed their guns when they heard that, there was a suspicious character in the neighborhood. They tracked him down. I don't know if there was a fight for the gun, but he didn't have a gun. He might have tried to grab the shotgun, whatever. He was murdered. It appears fairly cut and dried to me. There's this straw man argument that people say Arbery was, deserved it because he was
right.
House. Who are those people? Who are the people defending the father and the son and blaming Arbery for anything? Have you heard? There's a million references to those people, but I don't know who those people are.
Yeah, no, I've seen people push back against the original narrative that he was simply jogging around, and so those people have been under scrutiny. Like maybe Tim Pool, a couple of folks on Twitter. Maybe Candace Owens may have a different.
I've followed everything she's written, and she's talking about black on black crime versus white on black crime, and how she's challenging LeBron James' idiotic notion that he's hunted every time he leaves the house.
Yeah,
and she's posting like the statistics on most black people, by other black men. But I don't hear anybody saying.
Right. The media is trying to extrapolate out that this is a national epidemic of.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's a different story, but
it's not.
But Michael Brown was shot by a cop because he tried to kill that cop. Michael Brown, we saw on video trashing the convenience store. We saw him, and he was big and he was scary, and the cop, was exonerated because the cop did what he had to do to save his own life. That witnessed by a different story. Yes. I'm not sure who's saying that Ahmaud Arbery deserved any of this. I mean, obviously he wasn't jogging. So what? What does that matter? Who cares if he was jogging or not jogging? That's irrelevant. I just don't know. And it's a good point. I follow Tim Pool. I follow Candace Owen. They're not saying it. I follow Ann Coulter. She's not saying it. There is nobody saying that anything he did led to this escalation and led to this shooting, which will eventually lead to an exoneration or an acquittal of the father and son. Nobody is saying that.
No, I think you got it right, Gerry. And what I'm hearing, I listen to a bunch of podcasts as well, and I read a lot about this stuff. Is people are saying that these yahoos self-deputize themselves and went out looking for this guy and hunted him down. The guy tried to defend himself at one point. Understandable. Two jerks in in a pickup truck with a shotgun, maybe I think you probably do try to take a stand. It's probably not a very it's not a comfortable visual. So they snuffed this guy out, and it's tragic and it's terrible. It never should have happened, and justice has to be done. I hope everybody involved with trying to get these guys broomed has to face the consequences. It's terrible. This guy should have gone home safely, and it just sucks. But you're right. The media is trying to, they made hay with "Hands Up, Don't Shoot," Gerry, which was a bit of an apocryphal narrative of that
made up, absolutely made up. "Hands Up, Don't Shoot." You're right, and LeBron James was guilty as anybody. Maybe Michael Jordan's smarter than we think. People think he didn't get involved with politics because he wanted to sell shoes to Republicans. Maybe he didn't want to look like an idiot, like LeBron James so often does. Mm-hmm. Here's the only time you're going to have real division on this, real controversy, is if there's a trial. The defense of the father, son, Travis, and Gregory McMichael is, we just want to talk to him. He grabbed the gun and the gun went off, and then they'll say it was an accident or whatever, and then they get, I don't know, involuntary manslaughter and get 5 years. And we find out the father, an ex-cop, uses connections to stay, free for the 74 days. And I believe they're on their third prosecutor because these people are compromised.
Right.
But the actual crime, the only way I could see it being an issue is if they get acquitted for murder because somehow they explain that Arbery grabbed the gun. I mean,
right.
Crazy. The juries often side with cops in situations, even though the guy was retired. They maybe there's a way they can mount a defense, and then they could get the jury, or maybe a hung jury or something. Then you'll have some civil unrest, perhaps. But at this point, there's not two sides to this. There's one side. These rednecks, are freaking evil, and this guy did not deserve to die. I just don't know who we're supposed to be arguing with at this point.
No, you're right. But the narrative's way too appetizing. They're
right.
Mouth-watering to certain groups on the left. It just looks too good. Two guys in a pickup truck with a shotgun, yahoos. The pickup truck means Trump voter already, So
sure, right. And right, they're like cartoon characters. They're their father's son. They got beards, and they're fat. They're kind of goofy looking.
Guys who beat up Jussie Smollett. They're the exact same profile. Fat yahoos, who are just out for blood. And so it's too appetizing. Like we were talking about with the Russia stuff. It's just these narratives, the confirmation bias is just too, it's an addiction. It's like the opioid addiction. I mean, they cannot shake it. They have to do this. And it like gives them a shot at an endorphin rush or something every time that they can validate whatever.
You're going to find out there was a Trump bumper sticker on the truck, or that one of them, worked for Trump or something. That there'll be a Trump connection. That's what they're looking for now. They're dying for. But I don't know. Maybe we'll find out more. Maybe I'll learn that there is two sides to this. But right now, the guy was looking at a house being built and walking in the neighborhood. I don't care what he did in the past. Mm-hmm. You got to explain to me why he was assassinated before I'm going to agree that there's any room for discussion or debate here. It just doesn't.
It's kind of nice, Gerry, that there's such a consensus on this.
Right.
It does kind of give you renewed faith if your faith was wavering. That we're a much more colorblind society than you were portrayed as sometimes.
No, and even if you just call 911, you're kind of an asshole because you say, yeah, this guy was looking at a house under construction. Now he's walking down the street. If you called 911, I'd say you're kind of an asshole. If you grab your guns, they had a .357 Magnum and a shotgun, and jump in your pickup truck, I'm saying you're evil. I mean,
listen to this, Gerry. This is I moved up here. I'm in West Newbury now. We moved up here from Melrose. Melrose is an up and coming town that's very progressive and wants to be more progressive. They want to be Cambridge. So one day after school in the elementary school there a couple years ago, the teachers saw it was a guy in the woods relieving himself, like 100 yards away from the school, whatever. And so they called the police. As it turns out, it was the grandfather of one of the students. It was a black guy, grandfather of one of the students who couldn't, you're not allowed to go into the school because they assume that you're going to either molest somebody or shoot the school up. But he couldn't hold it any longer and had to run into the woods to take a piss. So the cops go, talk to this guy and they question him, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's a police presence there. So now the students, now the faculty and people in the neighborhood are now upset that now the police are hassling a black guy there. And to make it all even more perfect, the faculty, the principal then went to the students to apologize, and she apologized to the wrong black student. They got that wrong too. So it's like all of these misguided, clumsy, over progressive intentions, all they end up with is embarrassment, harassing a guy who just had to use the bathroom for a second, and just all this pie in the face kind of stuff. But they felt like good people for doing it. This is a town with a lot of people have Black Lives Matter bumper stickers in the windows.
Right, right.
Hate
has no home here.
Right. Hate has no home here. And, they've done everything they can with property taxes and 2.5 overrides to make sure that minorities can't afford to live in the town. But, they've got the bumper stickers. So they're really good people. They've also, this is happening everywhere. They've lowered the speed limit, which will cause, of course, more incursions with cops and people just driving in cars, which generally can be an unhealthy thing, as we've seen. But, man, the intentions for progressives are just dangerous because they're not built on logic.
No, you got the best. And, we've talked about Turtle Boy enough today. I don't want to upset Alex, but I got to give Turtle Boy credit for this one, too.
Don't let him on, Dave.
This and every day we talk about the Karens, the nosy neighborhood narcs that are ratting people out and calling the cops because people aren't social distancing. This guy has it all. Turtle Boy had this blog post yesterday about a NPR guy, a public radio personality who apparently has been in public radio for like 30 years. I never even heard of him. Henry Santoro. You got to read it to believe it. It is amazing. The guy's in his 60s, is kind of fat, liberal, lives in Brookline, South Brookline. I didn't even know there was such a thing. And I guess he's one of these welfare kings on, working for public, the taxpayers pay him to do radio shows that nobody listens to. One of those kind of scams, God bless him, been doing it for decades. He calls the cop. No, he doesn't call the cops. He yells at a family who are outdoors without a mask, which, let's be honest, if you're paying attention, nobody should be wearing a mask outside. It's ridiculous. But he saw a family, and it was 2 parents, which is one thing, yelling at parents without masks, a 3 and a 5-year-old. So this guy who works for, I guess, GBH, which is, again, they're publicly funded. He's a welfare guy. He's on welfare. He's a leech. This guy yells at them for not having masks on a 3 and a 5-year-old. I thought these PBS NPR types were supposed to be, smart. I thought they were supposed to be the smart ones. If you think a 3-year-old should have a mask on, you're stupid. Okay, you're dumb. Right. You're not paying attention. You're not reading up. You don't understand the virus. You don't understand the 3-year-olds are not susceptible. And even if there were some risk, it gets outweighed when you put a mask on your child and you tell him the scary virus might kill us all.
Yeah,
so this asshole is yelling and posting about how he yelled at a family of 4. I mean, you want to talk about...
He posted about it? That's great. That is great. Yeah.
He took pictures of this family of 4 that was out for a walk without masks.
Can you imagine that?
He's yelling at them. I mean, this, honest to God, that's this guy. Our taxpayers pay for this.
I don't care how bad the pandemic is. If you're diming out people and yelling at people, you're a POS. I'm sorry about that. I mean, if you're the kind of person who, like, you guys had on with Turtle Boy in Chicopee with that bar, 6 people went in, only 4 came out. Oh my God, 911.
Which there's a guy in the comments today saying he is one of the people that was at the bar that night, and he wants to talk about it. We'll get some more info there.
Yeah, why don't we get more info? Maybe we'll do it tomorrow.
Well, none of them knew each other, right?
And he's proud of himself for busting a group of friends, 4 friends, for drinking beer in the basement. He busted them, and he thinks that he's stopping the spread of the virus, like he's doing good. Because
Right, and he called you out and said, no, you guys were lying. That's not true. I didn't tell people to call 911. And then he gets on and he says, yes, well, I had told people to call 911 because they were Facebook messaging me. So I want to call 911 to make it official so that we can roll the cruiser down in case somebody's having a beer. By the way, I don't know that they knew each other. He said proudly on your show, I don't know if they really knew each other. They made
it was scary. The conviction.
He knows something's up. In just the same way with the Santoro guy, maybe he's a nice guy, I don't know. But with the kids, make sure the kids have masks. You're right. I mean, what a way to traumatize a kid. Might as well just size for coffins.
I'm telling you, Tom, what I'm seriously thinking of doing is not yelling, but telling parents when I see 4-year-olds with masks, saying, "What is wrong with you? You're gonna scare this kid for life."
Right.
He shouldn't be wearing a mask. He's not vulnerable. He's not going to get the virus. He's not going to give the virus to anybody. There's no proof, no evidence of that at all. Don't do that, you fool. Instead, this guy, this allegedly smart guy from public television, public radio, is yelling at them because their kids aren't in masks. This is peak madness, peak virus madness. And you know what? It's going to get worse. When I see LA shut down for the summer, I say it's going to get worse. When we have our pathetic governor yesterday, was it yesterday or 2 days ago when the governor came out and said, we'll talk to you, about reopening the state, said, we'll make a decision Monday, leaving thousands of small businesses hanging. They don't know what the decision's going to be. It's not like on the 18th, you can all open up. If you cut hair, if you do nails, you can open up. If you do construction, you're good on Monday. They don't know.
Why didn't that's what I don't understand. Why didn't you just say phase 1 starts May 18th and phase 1 is what we are in now? Like essential workers go to work.
Wait, I don't know what phase 1 means. What color, Dave? What color was it?
I forget which color.
I need to know my colors. Was it the orangey phase or the yellow or the purple phase? Our mayor, our governor is an idiot. Okay, he is afraid to make a decision. He's afraid. He's very, very popular. The soccer moms and Henry Santoro, whatever that guy's name is from NPR, they love the governor because the governor doesn't want anyone to do anything, until it feels safe, until we all feel safe and snuggly against his breast. Then maybe he'll let people go back to work. This guy is doing everything wrong, and his poll numbers keep going up, and the Globe loves him, so he's going to keep doing what he's doing. But I was literally texting with a guy who owns a hair salon, friend of mine, and he just left him hanging. He's trying to get his employees back. He needs a date. He needs a time. He needs to say, okay, Monday, let's all come back Monday morning, wear your mask, wear your gloves, we're going to work. He can't do that because this buffoon of a governor will not.
You can't make a date when you don't know what the Boston Globe's going to write the next day.
Right. It's amazing how little he cares. He's an alleged Republican. We know he's not, but he doesn't give a damn about these business people who are hanging by a thread saying, please, can I go do that, that job, build that house. Do construction. Can I start on Monday or not? He doesn't think it matters. I'll let you know. Just stay inside. Shut the window. Shut the door. Watch cartoons. I'll let you know what we're going to do on Monday. I mean, it's hell. My son is sitting there going, when is the gym going to open up? In other states, they're opening gyms, or they're telling you the gym's going to open on Monday or the gym's going to open on June 1st. We don't tell people anything in this state. We just leave them all hanging because you never know. The scary virus could spike. Let's say it all. We don't want to spike. We don't want to spike. If 4-year-olds don't wear masks, we might get a spike.
We don't have the tests, remember, Gerry.
Yes.
The thing is that people were told that if we flatten the curve, we can go back. People were given a deal and agreed to the deal. And that was weeks ago now. So what are we doing here? So the livelihoods can't be regenerated like this.
I'll tell you exactly what we're doing.
You know what, Gerry? Another thing you should realize is that the economic situation hasn't even begun yet. The downturn, the plunge into an economic semi-depression hasn't really begun yet. I mean, it is possible entire downtown to be shut.
All you care about is the Dow, Shattuck. I say that you don't care about Grandma. You care about the Dow. Anything stupider than that, you just care about the Dow, the stock market. Yeah, that's just what the guy who was a barbershop hanging by a thread. He cares about the Dow. God, I'm sick of these people. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of this governor. And Callahan's right. He's sitting there waiting for the Globe to. Oh, look, they love me. They really, really love me. Oh, all those soccer moms.
But is it moderately hypocritical for us to just say, listen, he's basically just winging it because one day he's going to be like, open up. It's just going to be a random decision that he makes versus what California's doing. And they're saying, nope, you're not, you can't go back to school until after the fall semester, or, we're going to be closed till August. Like they have a plan and we give him shit about it. He doesn't have a plan and we give him shit about it.
Let's hope that the Globe doesn't write an editorial saying, Charlie, shut down the schools, because he will. He will. He's got an 85% approval rating, and he gets up every morning and he reads the Globe and he gets a pup tent in his pants and says, they love me. I'm going to keep doing this. I don't care about small business. I don't care about construction or golf or barbershops. Screw them all. The Globe loves me. NPR, PBS, they love me. I mean, he's the last thing he is, by the way, is a Republican. The last thing he is a pro-business Republican. He is as crazy left-wing as Deval Patrick or Mike Dukakis. It's so disappointing. It is so discouraging. Forget California. We'll look at Georgia, Florida, the states that opened, and see how they do. Georgia's been, I think, 3 weeks now. The Atlantic magazine wrote a story with the headline, the governor ignores the doctors, the scientists, and begins a experiment in human sacrifice. What they said. I look at Georgia. Hey, by the way, I'm looking at the numbers right now before we get out of here. Is Governor Cuomo by himself killed more people. I believe there's 5,200 deaths in nursing homes, a total number of 27,000 deaths in New York. There's only one other state that has more deaths total than died in nursing homes in New York. 5,200 nursing homes. New Jersey's lost 9,500 people. Massachusetts has lost 5,100. So we're almost there. But more than 5,200 people in nursing homes in New York. If the nursing homes were a state, they would have the second most deaths, third most deaths in the country. That's how bad Cuomo has been. In Georgia, where they opened up the country, I'm looking way down here, they have 1,400 deaths. That's like before breakfast for Cuomo. He kills that many people before breakfast. There is no, you want to see human sacrifice, look at New York. You want to see people that care about small businesses and care about their children, go look at Georgia. That's what
right. New York City Health, chief, a month and a half ago told people to get outside, because Trump was being mean to the Chinese and the pangolins and all that stuff. De Blasio himself has been moronic on this. He's also not been self-isolating. He's been prancing around in the woods during this whole thing as well. I mean, it is New York City. That's where this thing hit for most of the states, with the exception of California, which had its own direct route. And that's the failings of that local government. The fact that they just Lysol the trains a week ago, in forcing people back into nursing homes. This is a nursing home, elderly, and immunocompromised pandemic. It is not dudes drinking Heffenreffer on beaches who are 22 years old. They're precisely not the problem. In fact, there's no reason why young people shouldn't be going back to work now. If they get work.
I don't think there's any Heffenreffer going around anymore. That's some flashback from your college. We called it the Green Death when I was younger. The Green Death, Heffenreffer. But anyway, quick update. The Bob Kraft ring. We were amazed 2 days ago, Callahan, when someone bid $330,000 for the Kraft ring. He's auctioning his Super Bowl ring from the Falcons Super Bowl for that all-in charity. It's over $1 million.
That's wild.
Somebody out there is bidding $1 million for Bob Kraft's Super Bowl ring, which I don't even understand. You didn't win it. I mean, what do you do? Do you wear it? Do you show your friends? $1 million. That's more than the guy bid to go to the Tampa Bay Bucks game and then work out with Tom Brady. That was only $800,000. So good for Kraft. Good for whoever is paying that kind of dough. I'm out. I was going to go to like 900, and then I thought,
yeah.
But that is amazing. That charity's raised like $40 million. That all-in thing, including Portnoy's $250,000 to.
I love that. How beautiful is that? How beautiful is that?
What is Goodell going to do? He's definitely going to call in sick that day. Are they going to change the rules? Or they're going to do something, right? They're going to say, or Goodell's going to sit there and not even talk to him, just watch the game with him and like kind of give him the back of his hand.
Yeah.
Well, if you're running that auction and you see that the winner of the contest is David Portnoy and you're so out of touch that name doesn't ring a bell to you in this situation, this guy deserves to have to sit there and take Portnoy shit.
He hid from Gillette Stadium for the ring ceremony, like after that year, right after the Falcons win. Goodell didn't go to the ring ceremony. I don't think, did he? Anybody who has a viral video of himself sprinting through the office, like Goodell has, he is just an odious dude. I think that's great that Portnoy did that. I don't think Goodell's going to show up. He finds Portnoy vile and go.
No, he's not. And Portnoy's not, extending the olive branch. He's ready. He's tweeted out a picture of Goodell with the Pinocchio nose last night, calling him a liar. It's very contentious. There's going to be some way Goodell gets out of this. Or maybe here's what he'll do. Here's my guess. He'll have a little party, a little watch party for a game. It's a Monday night game, I believe. He'll have like 20 people there. Food, drink, and he'll say hello to Portnoy and then boom, turn his back and go, wander off. So he'll keep the promise that you get to watch a game in his man cave, but he won't spend any time with Portnoy. That's my guess.
Do you think that we're going to have Monday Night Football? You think it's going to start in the fall?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Football is going to say, screw you all. They're not, Goodell is no Charlie Baker. He's not one of these guys who's worried about what the New York Times will say about him. I don't think. He's a businessman, and they need to put on a TV show, and they're going to play. And maybe they'll have a few fans, some fans, a couple thousand fans. I don't know, but they have to play.
We could have football in every business open right now if Trump just ordered everything closed and canceled. Seriously, because this stuff is largely still just a cudgel against Trump. It's a way to
right. It is amazing how polarized we are on this. Republicans all want to go back to work. Democrats all want another stimulus package so they can get another check in the mail and wait in their basement with their mask on. But anyway.
By the way, before we go, Gerry, I just want to mention your friend Joe Biden, who's still underground. There are some people who think that Trump should not debate him. What are your thoughts on that? Because the feeling is that the moderators will just attack Trump the whole time.
I don't care. It's going to be the biggest. It's going to get Super Bowl or maybe AFC Championship numbers. 50 million people will watch. That will be the sporting event of the year, Trump versus Biden. I want 3 of them at least. I can't wait. Even if it's virtual, it looks to me like Biden's even more pathetic virtually than he is in real life. Yeah. I mean, even protected in his own basement on a Zoom call, he is stumbling and mumbling and looking for his notes. So it will be uncomfortable. I mean, Trump will probably overdo it and attack him, and it'll look like he's, bashing a poor, feeble old man. But are you kidding? I don't care who the moderator is. I don't care what the format is. It'll be great theater. I can't wait.
It better not be virtual, by the way.
That
has to. Clearly, if guys can beat the shit out of each other inside a ring and sell 700,000 buys on pay-per-view, I think these two guys can debate and they can figure out a way to televise that the right way.
I say we carry it on this podcast, and the undercard is Reamer Turtle Boy.
You know what? We could try to do that, but I have a feeling Reamer is just not ready. He hates Turtle Boy so much that he can't sit and just converse or debate. He wants to, burn his house down, his whole family, which, I respect that. But, we'll see. Cullinate, see if you can, get those.
Line that up. I'll work on that.
Get those 2 kids back together. I want to go out, by the way, today. Normally, we go out with James McMurtry. We need to play Bryan Adams. Even though he apologized, his initial rant was so good. I'm just going to assume he didn't really mean that apology. It was just, obligatory. But his initial rant against those bat-eating effing all of them was so good. We got to play a little, Summer of '69 or Cut Knife. You pick.
I think Bryan Adams was on was on tour with Bon Jovi a couple years ago. That would have been a show. That's the two hits.
He's 60, but you know what? He still has those pipes. He's like me.
He's in
got
good
that voice.
shape, though, isn't he? I feel like I've seen him on TV a couple times.
He
well.
appears to be in
I don't
good
know why
shape.
Brian Adams got a bad deal. He's got like 10 legit great hits.
Oh yeah,
Right. And they're good, fun sing-alongs too. He is. But anyway, thanks Shattuck. Thanks to Shea Concrete and Allied Paving, and thanks to our friends from DCU. Thanks to Turtle Boy and Reamer for giving us something to talk about, and hopefully we'll do it again. Thanks to everyone for listening. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Podcast. We'll do it again tomorrow.